right, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about what some people consider to be the best game in the Uncharted series, and probably so far, this is the better of the two, most certainly. It's Uncharted Among Thieves. Let's talk about it. So first off, before I actually talk about the game, I've been gone for a while. It's been a week. I've had no internet, so I can't upload stuff. I couldn't do anything on Twitter. I wanted to do that fucking place on the plane thing, and couldn't do that. Posted it it was this morning. It was like 1 a.m. because I haven't been sleeping, and it's fucking mental. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Uncharted. We're here to talk about Nathan Drake. First off, we're gonna talk about the story. The story is a lot better than the first game. Because in the first game, it was just like, oh, we're gonna find some treasure. These three people want to find it as well. And as the game progresses, the three the three baddies, one gets killed, then another gets killed, then you fight the least interesting one at the end. This game has the two antagonists throughout the whole game. So Nathan Drake is like pulled into this kind of heist in a foreign country that's probably named in the game. I can't remember. It's the tutorial. The game's about 15 hours long. I can't remember what happens in the first like hour of the game. But we're brought into these two British people, Harry Flynn and Chloe. They're working with you. One is Chloe is a romantic interest until Elena shows up later on, but they're brought in. Flynn ends up turning traitor once they get the thing that they're looking for, and he's actually working with a guy called Lukarovich. I can't remember his name like that. I know it's like Lukarovich or something Russian. But yeah, and he's actually a much more interesting, competent villain than like any of the villains in the first game. Because the villains in the first game weren't in it. They weren't in it for that long. And the most interesting one is the first one that gets killed. But in this game, those two main baddies, they're in it through like up until the end. I mean, Harry Flynn literally offs himself near the end of the game. Spoilers, but yeah. We eventually meet up with Elena whilst we're in this country that's in the middle of a civil war. Before that, Nathan Drake gets arrested and gets broken up by Chloe and Sully from the previous game. Sully is in this for all of an hour. He's not in it for that long. And the most interesting thing about that is that 3 is predominantly about the relationship between Sully and Nathan Drake and exploring that. But the 2 games prior, Sully's barely been in it. in this one especially, he's in it for like an hour, an hour at the start of the game, and he pops up at the end after you beat Lukarovich. Um, but yeah, when we eventually get to, it's all about finding the lost land of Shambhala, because apparently there's something in there that can make you immortal, and they find out that that is actually in there, and Lukarovich wants to drink it and become immortal. But we find out that there's already people that have been drinking from it that are not immortal, but certainly much harder to kill. And it was actually at this point that I started struggling with the game. I started hitting a wall. But yeah, those enemies you have to fight, and they are just bullet sponges. But yeah, that's kind of the most annoying part of this game, is that it does bring in that supernatural aspect that I don't think works, or it certainly didn't work in the first game, because I was thinking, like, this is a very grounded story. It doesn't need zombies. It doesn't need like the undead. It's always the undead. They do a thing where they're dressed up as these kind of monster creatures, but no, they're in a uniform. They're dressing up as these creatures. They're not actually these creatures. They're actually just undead in, cosplay. That's the most annoying thing, is that it's trying too, like, much to be supernatural in the second half, or not even the second half, the last quarter of the game. And that's the annoying thing that annoyed me in the first game. It's that it just comes out of nowhere, and here it comes out of nowhere as well. It's like, we need a twist at the end of the game. This is the twist. It came out of nowhere. We didn't give any clues that this was going to happen. It's just, here's some zombies to fight, because why not? And oh, it's a cursed treasure again. But where the game succeeds is in the scope of it, the scale of it, the cinematography of it. And I was saying cinematography of a game is a bit weird, but it does play like a movie. It is an interactive movie, but it's done so well that you care about the characters. You don't care about the story. You care about the characters and how they're interacting with each other, and their banter, and they're actually worried for each other, and there's actual character growth. In the previous game, Nathan Drake was just a suave asshole. In here, he actually wants to do the right thing throughout the whole game. But you do have that kind of conflict where he does want to, give up halfway through, and then he changes his mind because he figures out that it's all going to, like, fucking fuck up the world at the end. And that's where he decides, no, I've got to save the fucking world. But until that point, he's very unsure of himself, and I like that in a character, where even if they are someone that's been doing this for a long time, they see something that they know is out of their league. They're like, no, I'll turn and run. But if you don't stop the bad guy, no one's going to, because the fucking army can't deal with that. And again, you can't deal with that, but you're a walking armory. You're a walking armory that does parkour, so of course you can do it. If anything, probably the worst thing about this game is that it does slow down, because it is a lot longer than the first one. It slows down in the middle. There's a lot of just walking around cities, and it's very annoying. But the thing that I really like, is diverse locales. I know this is a really basic thing, but the first game, you spent the whole 10 hours in the same jungle. You even repeat parts of the jungle several times. You go into the same church building 5 times, and it felt a lot longer than 10 hours, and it just felt like, oh, this is dragging on. Can this be over? Can this be over? And here it's like, oh, you're going to Borneo, you're going to Tibet, you're going here, you're going there. You spend most of it underground, but everywhere looks diverse and looks different and works for what they're trying to do. And when I said about the scope and the scale, you start the game with a gunshot wound and you're on a fucking train that's dangling off a cliff. And that's not even the most epic part. There's this part where your friend has been shot and you've got to carry him across the city. Meanwhile, people are shooting at you, trucks are bloody trying to drive into you, and you've got to dodge all of this whilst carrying this limping man who gets shot at the end anyway. But and then even after you beat Lukarovich, the game's not over. No, you've got to run across this bridge that's being trampled by an earthquake. What I'm trying to say is that I've learnt to appreciate what Uncharted is. It's not a deep gameplay enriching experience. It's a lot more about showing off what the console can do and doing amazing things with the environment around Nathan Drake. So with saying that, I'm going to talk about the gameplay now anyway. And the thing about the gameplay is the actual shooting, the actual shooty bang bang gun. It still has the same problem as the first one, when you can only pick up 2 guns. You can pick up one pistol, one one-handed weapon, and one two-handed weapon. And of course, when you're dangling off the side of a cliff, you can only use the one-handed weapon. And another annoying thing, sometimes you start chapters with no weaponry, so you have to kill someone to get weaponry. But the actual melee attacks do a lot more in this, and it does develop the actual hand-to-hand combat a lot more. The third one does it a lot better, but this one does develop hand-to-hand combat a bit more than just, oh, it's completely useless. Here it's actually you will have certain parts of the game where you have to go hand to hand, and there'll be other parts of the game where you have to go in all guns blazing. The final boss fight is nothing to write home about, but it's a lot better than fucking Navarro from the first game. It's just hide behind a box and shoot him, hide behind a box, run towards him, and quick time event. Here you actually have a big open arena. The guy is stalking you. He's just drunk some of this potion that makes him immortal, so you've got to shoot the sap as he walks past it. Again, it sounds very simple, but compared to what we had in the previous game, there's actually thought in there. It's not just press square, press triangle, done. Here you actually have, it actually takes time to beat him. It's a long fight as well. It's like a decent 10-minute fight of just shoot some sap, run away, shoot some sap, run away, shoot some sap, run away. It's things like that where it's not about the difficulty. The difficulty doesn't come in the actual like gunplay. You don't have a lot of like. There's not a lot of difficulty in like the actual shooting. The difficulty comes in the platforming, and the platforming is very, very tight and very, very responsive, and it is so. It's a dream. It's a dream to play. The scope. The game looks beautiful, even for something that's just been remastered. It looks amazing, and the actual like what I said about the scope, and you're playing it. It's not a cutscene of you climbing up the train. It's you playing it, and it looks and it feels beautiful to play, and it is beautiful to play. Um, the annoying thing about this game is everything fucking breaks. As soon as you touch it, it breaks. Everything. I get why Jacksepticeye called him Nathan Break, because he's the new character introduced in this game, Nathan Bloody Break. Because everything. There's even a line where Nathan Drake says, "Everything I touch turns to shit," and it's like, yes, everything you touch turns to shit, because you're trying to climb up this pipe, and then the pipe falls, and you've got to use it as a swinging bar now to get to the other platform. It's interesting to see how the developers thought about the level design, and thought about, oh, we're gonna make things break, but you're going to use it as a different kind of mode of platform. That's genius. That's really good level design and really good game design, and it's really like it makes the player feel smart when they figure out that's how I get to a new platform. Like, I know I sound like really basic, but that's the kind of thing that I love in games. It's when you actually have to work to get somewhere, and the game not only looks beautiful, plays beautifully, has challenge in the platforming. It's also tied together with a really likable cast. Elena isn't the fucking bitch she was in the last game. She's actually a developed character. You get to feel for her and Nathan's relationship at the end of the game. Sully, for what he's in it, you can see that Nathan and Sully have this like father-son relationship, but also kind of Sully's the father that is out all night playing poker and comes back, and his son's like, "You fucking drunk asshole." Like it every character feels right and feels like an actual character. It's not like you're playing a game. It's like you're watching a movie, and you're seeing these characters develop over time. And for me, that works, and it feels so good. It's like a breath of fresh air. Like, in conclusion, where the last game really disappointed me to a point where I felt bored toward the end, this one felt really engaging. I cared about the characters. I was invested when something cinematic was going on. I actually felt for the characters. I felt, oh shit, I hope they don't kill that character off. Like, I actually did get invested in the story this time. I got invested in the characters this time, and the game was fun. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. That's what gaming is all about. It's all about having fun. And Uncharted Among Thieves is, at the end of the day, fun. It's an amazing game, and it's also fun. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, share this video with your family and friends and anyone who likes video games, comic books, movies, pop culture in general. I'll talk about it all. And I'll see you guys in the next video.